This is Off the Cuff, and I'm Steve from TorahFamily.org. Have you ever been up against something big? I mean, really big. I mean, something that just seemed bigger than life? Something that just seemed completely impossible to overcome? I'd like to share a small story with a big message behind it. It starts in Numbers 13. And here we find where Moses sends 12 spies into the land they were about to take over. This was given as a command from Yahweh. Numbers chapter 13. Yahweh spoke to Moses, saying, "Send men to spy out the land of Canaan, which I am giving to the people of Israel. From each tribe of their fathers you shall send a man, every one a chief among them." Now, please notice here, Yahweh was giving them the land. Giving them the land. They just had to go in and possess it. He sent them to just check it out. It was basically kind of like a recon mission, if you will. You know, you go in and you check it out, and then you bring back the report. So, let's pick up from there. Let's start at verse 25. Numbers 13:25 says, "At the end of 40 days, they returned from spying out the land. And they came to Moses and Aaron and to all the congregation of the people of Israel in the wilderness of Paran at Kadesh. They brought back word to them and to all the congregation and showed them the fruit of the land. And they told him, 'We came to the land to which you sent us. It flows with milk and honey, and this is its fruit. However, the people who dwell in the land are strong, and the cities are fortified and very large. And besides, we saw the descendants of Anak there. The Amalekites dwell in the land of Negeb. The Hittites, the Jebusites, and the Amorites dwell in the hill country. And the Canaanites dwell by the sea and along the Jordan.' But Caleb quieted the people before Moses and said, 'Let us go up at once and occupy it, for we are well able to overcome it.' Then the men who had gone up with him said, 'We are not able to go up against the people, for they are stronger than we are.'" Now, let's pause here for a moment. Notice how just after the bad report is given, Caleb steps up to the plate to turn the situation around. He tries to rally the troops, if you will, and get them to focus on the promise at hand. Then the other men spoke up and basically said, "Are you crazy? We can't do this. They're stronger than we are." This was probably true, but their line, "They are stronger than we are," truly reveals what they were looking at: themselves and not Yahweh. Continuing in verse 32. "So they brought to the people of Israel a bad report of the land that they had spied out, saying, 'The land through which we have gone to spy out is a land that devours its inhabitants, and all the people that we saw in it are of great height. And there we saw the Nephilim, the sons of Anak, who come from the Nephilim, and we seemed to ourselves like grasshoppers, and so we seemed to them.' Then all the congregation raised a loud cry, and the people wept that night. And all the people of Israel grumbled against Moses and Aaron. The whole congregation said to them, 'Would that we had died in the land of Egypt, or would that we had died in this wilderness. Why is Yahweh bringing us to this land to fall by the sword? Our wives and our little ones will become prey. Would it not be better for us to go back to Egypt?' And they said to one another, 'Let us choose a leader and go back to Egypt.'" Wow. They literally wanted to turn around and go back to the land of captivity instead of moving forward in the promises of Yahweh. That's the conclusion they came up with from the report. Now, in their defense, let's face it, they were looking at having to overcome giants. I mean, giants that made them look like grasshoppers even. So let's not come down too hard on them. However, then again, look at all they had seen from the hand of Yahweh in Egypt. Plus, if he could split the Red Sea, I mean, really? Did they really think that these giants were too much for Yahweh? I mean, that's basically what they're saying. Again, the problem here is they weren't looking at Yahweh. They were looking at the giants. They were looking at the problem and not the problem solver. This is easy for anyone to do. I mean, we can focus so much on the issue at hand and forget just how awesome Yahweh really is. And the more we focus on the problem, the more it seems to grow, all the while making it seem like we're never going to overcome it. When you hold a problem right up in your face, I mean right here, then it's all you're ever going to see. And then it will only look huge to you because you're holding it right here, right in front of your face. If you just do that, that's all you're going to see, and it's going to look huge. And then it makes you want to focus more and more on just how big this problem is. But the more you back it away from you, you see it's not that big. It's not that big at all. And then the closer you get to Yahweh, you begin to see just how small it really is compared to Him. Now, let's read a few more verses from our text. Numbers 14. Then Moses and Aaron fell on their faces before the assembly of the congregation of the people of Israel. And Joshua, the son of Nun, and Caleb, the son of Jephunneh, who were among those who had spied out the land, tore their clothes and said to all the congregation of the people of Israel, "The land which we passed through to spy it out is an exceedingly good land. If Yahweh delights in us, He will bring us to this land and give it to us, a land that flows with milk and honey. Only do not rebel against Yahweh, and do not fear the people of the land, for they are bread for us. Their protection is removed from them, and Yahweh is with us. Do not fear them." Here we see Joshua and Caleb trying to encourage the assembly. I mean, their words are really few and to the point. Notice verse 8 again. He says, "If Yahweh delights in us, He will bring us into this land and give it to us, a land that flows with milk and honey." If Yahweh delights in us, a line that is often overlooked. Joshua and Caleb knew blessings accompany obedience. This is also found in the book of Hebrews, Hebrews 11:6. "And without faith it is impossible to please God, because anyone who comes to Him must believe that He exists and that He rewards those who earnestly seek Him." He rewards those who earnestly seek Him. They encouraged the people to not rebel against Yahweh and to not fear the people of the land. If they had just listened to Joshua and Caleb, they could have taken that land. Consider also Deuteronomy 11, verse 26. "See, I am setting before you today a blessing and a curse. The blessing if you obey the commands of Yahweh your God that I am giving you today. The curse if you disobey the commands of Yahweh your God and turn from the way I command you today by following other gods, which you have not known." When we walk in obedience, blessings will eventually come. Now, verse 9 of our text. "Only do not rebel against Yahweh, and do not fear the people of the land." You know, rebellion and fear are still the top two assailants of God's people to this day. Rebellion and fear really feed off of each other. I mean, when we fear, it tempts us to submit to whom or what we fear, thus rebelling against God. When we rebel, it leads us into fearing. Okay, the next line is actually my favorite line in all of this. It says, "For they are bread for us. Their protection is removed from them, and Yahweh is with us. Do not fear them. I love this line. For they are bread for us. In other words, piece of cake. We got this thing. It's in the bag. These guys are nothing but manna that melts in the sun. Joshua and Caleb knew nothing could stop them if they were obeying the Father. We find similar words of Paul in the New Testament. Romans chapter 8. What then shall we say in response to this? If God is for us, who can be against us? Joshua and Caleb knew it wouldn't be them overcoming the people of the land, but rather Yahweh doing it through them. We need to realize that sometimes Yahweh calls us to do things that we simply can't do. Things that will sometimes require our faith to be stretched to a whole new level. Things that will give no doubt to whom the glory belongs, meaning to Him, not to us, because it can't be us doing it, it's got to be Him. So the glory will always go to Him. And when we move forward in obedience, we see His hand work miracles. Yet, what happened? Did they give positive response to Joshua and Caleb? Hardly. Verse 10. Then all the congregation said to stone them with stones. But the glory of Yahweh appeared at the tent of meeting to all the people of Israel. They were getting ready to stone them when suddenly the Father just comes in to break up the fight, if you will. Now, consider the words of Yahweh regarding these people. Verse 11. And Yahweh said to Moses, how long will this people despise me? And how long will they not believe in me, in spite of all the signs that I have done among them? In the eyes of Yahweh, if you're not trusting Him, you're despising Him. If you're not trusting Him, you're basically treating His words with contempt. In essence, snubbing your nose at Him, saying, basically, I don't think you can do this, Yahweh, so I'm going to take matters into my own hands and do things my way now. Which is basically what we see taking place in this story, in this event that truly happened. Now, as it is, we know this generation didn't enter the promised land. Well, except for Joshua and Caleb, that is. Now, knowing this, let's move forward to the book of Joshua. It's the time after this rebellious generation had died off. In Joshua chapter 2, we see Joshua sending in spies to search out the land. Let's pick up with where these two spies come in and report to Joshua. Joshua chapter 2. Then the two men returned. They came down from the hills and passed over and came to Joshua, the son of Nun, and they told him all that had happened to them. And they said to Joshua, truly, Yahweh has given all the land into our hands, and also all the inhabitants of the land melt away because of us. The people of the land were melting in fear because of the Israelites. This report is a night and day difference in comparison to the first one that was given to Moses. Except for it being the next generation of Israelites, nothing in the physical had changed. The same people in the same land. All that changed is the hearts of the people on both sides. The difference? It was obedience and trust instead of rebellion and fear. When we walk in obedience, we'll see His hand move in our lives. It may not always be when we want it or how we want it, but He'll do it. Now, please understand, this doesn't mean that hard times won't be coming our way. Job is a prime example of that. However, it does mean we can make our way through a situation much better if we trust and obey. Every obstacle we face is an opportunity for us to learn and grow. And knowing Yahweh is the same today as He was then, we need to understand we can overcome whatever obstacle comes our way. We simply need to trust and obey. I know that sounds a little oversimplified. But it's not. It's not oversimplified. Because in reality, that's it. That is it. For some strange reason, our nature wants to complicate things all the time. I don't understand why, but it does. We always want to make it harder than what it is. And when we do, we're only making it harder on ourselves. May we always learn from the mistakes of others. In this case, those who wouldn't listen to Joshua and Caleb in the book of Numbers. Where is your focus today? Is your focus on the problem or the problem solver? Remember, the next time someone comes at you with a negative report, all you need to say is, piece of cake. Think about it. Pray about it. But more than anything, be a doer of the word and not a hearer only. Until next time, Shalom.